won the tiebreakers, but they falter in the semi-finals. And for the first time ever, Schalke 04 are in the finals. Schalke deserve all of the celebration.
Welcome back, everyone, to the rematch of the summer semifinals between Vitality and Schalke. We saw some images of it there. Of course, Schalke very happy. They went to the final after a breakout year for them, but the same can be said for Vitality. Both organizations had a breakout year, and they were very different. Schalke, slow and steady. Vitality, boom, explosive straight off the bat.
It was. I mean, Vitality were a top 4 team for the entirety of 2018. They took 4th in spring. They took 3rd in summer. They showed consistent play, but just a few small niggles prevented them making the finals. Schalke, on the other hand, it was that explosive growth. In the summer split, they made a change in their jungle roster. Amazing came in, and after a rocky start, they accelerated all the way through to the finals, and they were unable to qualify for Worlds because of the regional qualifiers.
And it was just unfortunate that the hype train had to get derailed a little bit for Schalke, but it felt like Vitality grabbed hold of it, and they rode it all the way to Worlds, having the Vitality effect, taking down RNG, and barely missing out their chance on the quarterfinals.
Yeah, definitely. So the postseason was really, really good for Vitality, and so it is not really a surprise that they haven't changed that much coming into this LEC season. Just one thing. Their jungler is now Mowgli, formerly from Afrika Freaks, a team they played and scrimmed with against a lot during the Worlds period, and this is what their new lineup looks like. So only one change. What does this mean for Vitality and their first games?
Now, it is one change, but Coach Yamato Cannon behind them said that it was the most delicate change, that it changes and impacts the most things. Now, the thing about Mowgli is Yamato wanted a high mechanical skill cap jungler, and he feels like this guy serves the purpose. Alongside Jiizuké, who's just getting off of a Korean boot camp, I expect these two to be the power couple for Vitality. I think Jiizuké is back in form, and Mowgli's going to be his partner in crime as they blitz forward.
I think it's important to note as well that Vitality have made another change to the jungle role, but every time they've made an adjustment, the team has gotten better. They have improved, they have progressed, and now all of a sudden you've got this team that are no longer rookies, that showed up on the international stage, and Jiizuké himself surprised me. He played phenomenally, and with that comes the weight of expectations. Europe is now looking to Vitality and saying, do it again, do it better.
Well, I'm looking at them and thinking, if you could do all those things last year, you had that great Worlds. For me, this has to be a title contender. This has to be a team that has to go from strength to strength, because Jactroll, Attila, and Jiizuké should only be doing better this year around. So, you know, there are very high expectations on their shoulders, but I think it is warranted.
It's about now the consistency.
Yeah.
We know the explosive nature of Vitality. How can you control that dynamite and use it offensively every single time? You've got Cabochard up in the top lane. He's supposed to be kind of the cool-headed veteran player to lead them to success and to calm everyone down. And I expect a more calm, more controlled, and more scary Vitality than ever before.
Well, we will see. They are up against the docket against Schalke 04, and, well, there have been a lot of changes in that lineup, and it's been a bit the tradition of Schalke. You know, they have been building on this road for a while, and 2018 was their most successful year yet, and now they decided to come in rebuilding around their franchise player Upset with a mix of rookies and, I was going to say ancient, but I mean experience. That's not what I meant. Experienced players.
He's only been gone for like a year, Sjokz. He's coming back, and of course I'm talking about IgNar. So it's not just Mowgli who's joining us from the LCK, it's also IgNar back to remind Europe how explosive he can be in that bottom lane. And Upset, if you're building around an ADC, I want an aggressive support alongside him. Again, consistency though.
Yeah.
We've seen the highs of IgNar, and we've seen the lows of IgNar. So I want Worlds IgNar, not LCK IgNar.
Yeah, and of course these ancient players, Odoamne and Memento, rounding out the team for the, you know, experience and the wealth of games they've played on stage. But it's important to note it's not only the roster that's been completely overhauled, the entire support structure as well. The coaches, the analysts, everything behind the scenes has changed as well. So I'm interested to see what Schalke can do. I'm quietly optimistic. We've already seen 2 rookies step up on the LEC stage today and show up. And now the next one is going to be Abbedagge, and we're going to see what he can do today.
If Splice were kind of our gatekeepers, for me, Schalke is actually the sleeper team. I feel like no one's really looking at the roster. It's a very interesting dynamic and how it's actually going to fit together. But if you have the brains of Odoamne and Memento. You have a brand new mid lane talent and then a very mechanically powerful bot lane. I mean, this can either be an incredible team, another finals perhaps, or maybe they start to slip backwards. But I'm actually full aboard on the hype train for Schalke. I think everyone's overlooking them.
Going to be a very interesting matchup, and one of the key matchups in on the Rift Rider is between the bottom laners as Upset and Attila continue their heated rivalry. And Quickshot, you're going to break that down for us.
I am indeed, because I'm particularly excited about the AD carry matchup. Attila and Upset came into the league from Challenger last year. Both were regarded as candidates to become the next top AD carry in Europe. But there's going to be one next top AD carry. Attila was then named Mini Trupax. He took down Upset twice over the course of the Spring Split, and it was an achievement that gave him a whole lot of confidence.
I actually really laughed a lot when he said that he has an edge over every rookie AD carry, that he has more knowledge, and this guy, I don't know.
I love seeing Attila throwing the smackdown and the banter off air, because this was a rivalry that started blooming in Challenger. It exploded when they stepped onto the EULCS stage in 2018, and it was ignited by, on one hand, Attila's strong personality, and on the other, Upset's quiet self-confidence, and the fact that both of them wanted to be regarded as the next AD carry prodigy. Both of these players got their breakthrough in the summer split. Upset and Schalke went all the way to finals, earning him a spot on the All-Pro team, while Attila and Vitality secured the 3rd seed for Europe and attended the World Championships. Attila then went on to take down Uzi on Attila's signature Draven. All in all, Attila and Upset both had a great 2018, which is why it's so surprising to me that neither of them made it onto the top 3 of the player ranking poll. That was something we all voted for. I added them. You guys obviously did not. So I wanted to know, you fans at home did not vote for them for the player rankings. I wanted to know who voted for which player. And I asked you, Team Upset or Team Attila, much earlier today. The fans have spoken. Attila has won with 54% of the vote as somebody who will carry the mantle to be the next top AD carry. Will he catch up to or surpass Reckless? That's what we're going to have to find out. Both of these young guns have aspirations to step into those shoes and be the next European ADC to bear the mantle. This is the first LEC title for both teams. Who will come out victorious? These mortal enemies are about to crash on the Rift. It's Vitality taking on Schalke.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. And Vitality, such a team. That was the worst thing I've ever said. Such a team that has inspired hope in the European League of Legends fans. Just look back to Worlds, look at Yamato Cannon's speech, look at how they performed, and then they come into the new year, and once again, it's their jungler that's changed.
Play your style.
Play your style.
That was the Yamato Cannon speech that inspired many across Europe, and they did it.
They did.
Semi-finals, finals, whereas
they didn't make either.
They looked on proudly as the European brothers found so much success, but they were this close. A single game versus Cloud9 was the ultimate deciding factor that they unfortunately could not win. But they're now back here on the LEC stage. They have made a small jungle change, as the analyst so kindly pointed out, and I'm fascinated as to how this will change the playstyle of Vitality, because let's not forget, for the majority of the year, this team played with Gilius. And with Gilius, they made it to 4th place in spring. Then in summer, they struggled a little bit. They weren't really finding the synergy that they were looking for. They were 5-5 in the first half of the split. Kikis comes in 9-1. Takes them to 2nd place at the end of the regular season.
And he did such a good job for that team. He came in, played aggressively, went for those level 2, level 3 ganks, was always that catalyst, that spark that ignited Vitality. And then they decide to sub him out. And they bring in Mowgli from a Freak of Freaks, who didn't have a good performance at Worlds, who lost to Cloud9 in the quarterfinals. And they say, okay, we think Mowgli's going to give us more. Now, of course, they have a history of scrimming against the Freak of Freaks, so they do have experience playing with and against Mowgli. But you have to wonder, with jungle being such a tumultuous role for Vitality, is this the fix that they needed?
Well, that's the big question. Will this be enough to take them to their first final? Can they break that 3rd place match hurdle and make their way all the way onto that pedestal? That's what we're here to see. That's what we're here to find out. They'll be going up against Schalke, a common rival for them throughout 2018 that is now going through a new rebuilding process.
2nd time in 2 years, they have got rid of 4 of their players and said, Upset, cool, you can stay. everyone else changes. Even their support staff has changed this year as well, bringing in Dylan Falco, of course, as their new coach.
Now, I've heard a lot from Fnatic that this Schalke squad definitely needs to be respected. It's still stacked with talent, and I mean, maybe they're a little biased because their former coach is heavily involved with them, but clearly they have a lot of faith in him, and they believe that he can turn this team into a title contender. But what I know about this team is that Memento was known for his aggression back in the day. They've also got IgNar, another player that was known for his aggression, who really made a name for themselves on the world stage back in 2017. So now you kind of see the beginnings of what could be a very aggressive team that's kind of built for this meta. A team that looks for those early plays, tries to be dominant during the laning phase, tries to find advantage that they can then snowball from. The problem is they're going up against the team that did that when it wasn't meta, when it wasn't how you were supposed to play the game.
Vitality's defined the current meta. They made this meta. And I also wonder, you know, you talk about how Memento's aggressive and IgNar's aggressive. Odoamne, not known as the most aggressive top laner. Upset, not known as the most aggressive AD carry. Are they going to be able to match that dichotomy within their own team to actually find a composition or a style that suits them?
Well, remember, not everyone needs to bring the aggression.
Yes, they do.
They just need to be ready to follow up. No. It's a balance.
Okay.
You know, you've
It's
got
like the Wuju style.
I mean, sort of, but you kind of have to find a delicate balance between aggression and calm and calculated, so that, you know, not everyone is saying go, go, go. So, you know, not Vitality, right? I mean, Vitality have somehow found a strange beauty in everyone wanting to dive in at the same time, but I think that they're definitely a unique team in how they are capable of doing it. Will they be able to pull it off again? We will see. I'm excited to see Jiizuké return to the Rift, going up against the young rookie Abbedagge. Let's not forget that last year, Jiizuké was the young rookie making his way onto the stage, and while he impressed many with things like his Rise performance,
his Echo play,
his Echo at Worlds as well, Abbedagge is now here to show the European fans what he is capable of, and going up against one of now the best mid laners that we have here in Europe.
Abbedagge just off the back of a second-place finish in the Turkish Challenger League as well, Champions League as well. So not someone without experience of being on a big stage. We are going to jump on into picks and bans. Vitality are on the blue side, and Schalke are on the red side. Quick interesting fact for you, Vedius, before we start.
Yeah.
Every single LEC game where a team has had their name start with an S, that team has won.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah.
That
Splice and SK Gaming.
I didn't realize
100% win record.
Quickshot.
100% win record.
Anyway, we have the draft on screen. Looks like that we are going to see very much what we've seen already today. Lucians, Aatroxes, Aurelias all being taken off the board. Ezreal raises impression. The Draven ban. Love that going over towards Attila. Now, for those that may not know, Upset loves Ezreal. He was playing Ezreal before the changes. He's a very big Ezreal player. Ezreal becomes like the next big pick after things like Lucian and Cassio are taken off the board, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just look to grab it very early on, alongside something like the Lissandra, who is very versatile and strong in the current patch.
Yeah, doubt we'll see the Rammers coming out from Memento, but you never know. We have a few unique picks that are available. We're not going to see it.
I know that one.
There's Lissandra being picked up. Memento now perhaps going to look towards that. Ezreal, things like the Rakan are still very strong as well, if you want to get them on this first rotation.
That's true. Rakan's a good one. Ooh, blind pick Thresh. So we are going full IgNar.
Yep.
The man that says, you know what, I'm just going to play comfort. I'm going to play what I'm good at. And playmakers, aggressive champions, stuff that you could try to win lane with is definitely his style. So he comes back swinging. And it's also considered a pretty good pick into the Rakan. Anyway, so I think that they're quite happy with how things have gone. Vitality right now hovering around the... Whoa! That is a very quick Yasuo lock-in.
Okay.
But, before you all get excited about Jiizuké Yasuo hype, you don't know where it's going. Top, mid, bot, all very viable places for this Yasuo to go.
It's just so flexible. There's so many different options for him. It could be on Jiizuké in the mid lane. I'd love to see that. We are seeing the Ezreal hovered over here by Schalke as well. Wouldn't be surprised if that gets locked in. Ezreal Thresh, such a strong lane because Ezreal is very safe. And then if the Thresh lands a hook, you land W, you E in, you get a massive chunk of damage, and you can just poke someone out of the lane. That's locked, and now we are into the second ban phase. And if you're Schalke and you're staring down a Sejuani, Urgot, Yasuo, What are you thinking of banning out here?
Well, they're going to take away the Rakan. Makes sense. You talked a little bit about it earlier in the day, where Rakan Yasuo is kind of that staple bot lane because of how nicely they synergize with each other. And it looks like Vitality are actually going to take some of the mid laners off the board as well. You can see that Jiizuké is already sitting on the cleanse. He expects the Lissandra to go into the middle lane. There is the potential that this Urgot could still be swapped to mid, and the problem is because there's so many swippy swaps that can still happen for both teams that it's kind of hard to predict what the next best bans would be. Camille is still up and available. Maybe Vitality want to take that away from Memento. It was a champion that he was very comfortable and liked playing a lot in the past. And it looks like Schalke are just saying, well, you know what, we're going to limit the support pool to make sure that Upset and IgNar can have the strongest 2v2 possible.
I do wonder where Vitality will go for that bottom lane if the Yasuo doesn't go there, because you're falling down to that second tier. Maybe something like a Caitlyn is on the cards for them. Not something Attila is incredibly well known for, but could always go for just a teamfight AD carry like the Sivir as well. Really doubt that we'll see the Nami lock in.
Don't talk about Hubbards, man. They're always
Really
a trap.
doubt
They're
it.
a bait. But
That's
the
true.
Kha'Zix is the final ban that comes out. Vitality showing that respect to Memento, knows that he does like these aggressive early game junglers. Now, I do kind of want to touch on this hover a little bit because it was played, I want to say, over in the LCK. And while it did fall behind a little bit in the early game, it actually had a huge amount of mid-game. Okay, look at these insta-locks. So quick from Vitality.
There's so much flexibility there that we've
Yeah.
seen Viktor top, we've seen Viktor mid, we've seen Viktor in the bot lane. I assume the Tahm Kench will be support, but you never know.
No. You can be quite confident with that one, and it is a Jactroll special as well. It kind of, it's something that he played a lot during the Summer Split last year. He had a lot of proficiency on the champion. Ooh, and we also round things out with the Kennen coming out from Schalke as well. So Kennen top is what I expect. Lissandra mid. And then the Olaf in the jungle. So not too much flexibility coming out from Schalke, but where will Vitality put their champions? I'm going to say that it is Yasuo mid lane. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. I thought that as soon as I saw him take cleanse. So I thought that a long time ago, Vedius. You're a bit late joining the Yasuo mid trade
though, so therefore I was
because
first.
you were talking again.
That's fine. I like to talk. Now, they have up until 20 seconds before they can do that final swap.
Yep. Yasuo mid.
Yasuo
Great
mid.
prediction, Vedius.
You're anytime, my friend, anytime.
Good stuff all around. So tell me about what these compositions actually do, because we've talked a lot about the picks.
Yep.
But what are they trying to do as compositions?
So, Vitality have a really good split push comp. Yasuo, the great thing about him is he's really good in a side lane. The thing is, he may struggle against a Kennen if the Kennen decides to build towards AD, because Kennen has a lot of mobility and can kind of just keep Yasuo just slightly out of range. So a potential answer is the split push there as well. Their team fighting is pretty good with Viktor and Sejuani and Urgot. The area of effect damage, their engage tools that they have are pretty solid, but I do feel like that this composition works best when they in skirmish situations. Utilize the Tahm Kench to kind of roam from lane to lane, create these 2v2 scenarios, 3v3 scenarios, and kind of rely on the mechanical prowess that you have to try and find these outplays. Whereas for Schalke, I mean, they kind of have very similar options. They can play the 1-3-1 as well, slightly less strong because you don't have the same scaling as a Yasuo, but very solid team fight, a lot of good poke. And it largely depends on how this Kennen chooses to build. Will he go AD or will he go AP?
I do have a pause just as we jump straight on into the game, so it'll be a second before we get to see Summoner's Rift in all its glory. I do want to talk a little bit about Attila and Upset, because there were these two AD carries that really rose to infamy, famousness.
Bot laners.
Sorry, bot laners, yeah, he's playing Viktor
Viktor.
as well. These two bot laners that really rose in sort of the public perception at the start of last year, and there was always this battle back and forth between the two of them. You know, is Upset better? Is Attila better? Now Upset won the All-Pro Team #1 vote at the end of summer.
Yep.
Attila didn't.
Yes, that's how winners
Obviously.
work. Yeah.
Attila, though, has always been very outspoken about how he thinks he deserves to be one of the best AD carries in Europe.
Yeah, I was surprised when the fans were voting for like the top 3, and that Hans Sama was in there, and Attila and Upset weren't. Because I don't think Hans Sama had the greatest year
I'll agree with you
in
there.
2018, whereas Attila and Upset really proved themselves as like top 80 carries in our league.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about Attila is he's almost like the opposite of upset, and I don't mean in terms of play style, I mean of like how they actually play the role. Because Attila's like, he plays everything. He played something like 9 or 10 different champions in his role last summer, whereas Upset's like a specialist in very few, right? So he's like very good Ezreal, very good Varus, very good Kai'Sa, but then you don't really see him move outside of these champions. He just stays very on very specific champions, but he has a lot of success on them, right? And it's quite interesting how their styles contrast, because while Upset kind of has more of those outplay moments, I think a lot of people undervalue the versatility that Attila really does bring to a team.
I mean, you can look at it in this game.
Yeah,
he's playing Viktor in this game.
Right, but you always talk to him and you're like, do you remember that game? I think it was against Fnatic where there were 7 AD carry bans or something ridiculous. And then he still had another AD carry that he brought out. And I think they even beat Fnatic that game as well, right? And he's just this guy that is, he just has such a deep champion pool. He can play them all at a very high level. But he's still someone that to many fans, they just think, well, he's a good AD carry, but he's not quite as good as the likes of Reckless or Upset.
I think we get to that consistency point now, don't we? It's the problem with Vitality and perhaps the problem with Attila in terms of, can you put him as an S-tier AD carry?
Right.
Give me another split. Give me another 6 months of him playing at the same level as Reckless, at the same level as Hans Sama, at the same level as maybe Perks this year as well. And then I think we put him up as an S-tier AD carry, and we're proud to put him there.
Well, personally, I believe he's already there, and I think we're going to see a battle of 2 S-tier AD carries going at it, as Abbedagge, in his first game of the LEC, will also be going up against Jiizuké, definitely a top 3 mid laner in Europe right now. So this is going to be an exciting game. I'm expecting Vitality to be aggressive, look for plays. That's just in their nature.
Vitality aggressive, Vedius?
But I want to see the same thing from Memento and IgNar. We talked about them as players. Their styles have always been about trying to find advantages either in lane or during the early stages of play. And they're on champions that can do it. Olaf really works very effectively, or most effectively rather, in the early to mid game, and Thresh, known for being a very strong laning champion. So I'm excited for this one. Schalke versus Vitality. We're now into game. Thank you for bearing with us. More League of Legends action coming right up.
A little bit of beautiful symmetry for you, Vedius, here, if you would like. Guess what the last champion IgNar played for a European team was?
Was it Blitzcrank?
It was Thresh.
Oh.
In his last game against SKT, and now in his first game in the LEC, he brings it back.
He insta-locked it too.
I mean, yeah, they did lose that game.
We don't talk about that.
Against SKT.
We only remember the wins, like his Blitzcrank against FLICKR. Do you remember that play?
The corky hook. Yep.
Yeah.
The Fervor Leona. Flash. Relic Shield proc.
That's what many fans remember.
Tasty IgNar plays.
Fun fact, IgNar was actually voted as top 3 support by the end of the split. I was very surprised. It even kicked Mickey out.
Yep.
Mickey has been like the all-pro support for like the entirety of 2018, but the fans are like, nope, IgNar's going to push him out.
Gorilla's up there as well.
Gorilla's up
we
there
haven't seen either of them play on the LEC stage.
Right, so a lot of faith coming towards IgNar. We'll see what he can do. So in terms of this early game, Jungler's doing what looks to be fairly standard starts, doing much more of the full clear route in favor of Memento, whereas Mowgli wants to get that early vision, the early scuttle crab towards the top side, because he knows that Cabochard probably going to want to push in towards the top side of the map, but he also wants to give a little bit of security for Jiizuké, who you can see is struggling in this 1v1.
Yeah, always going to get pushed back in that matchup. You just don't have the range advantage on the Lissandra, so you're going to struggle a little bit. But Mowgli secures the scuttle grab. IgNar gets a ward off here on the Krugs, and that means Schalke will have at least some awareness of where Mowgli is right now. Even if they can't see him directly on the map, they know he's probably up towards this top side.
Now, for those of you that may not have seen Kennen for a while, typically you do start with a Doran's Blade, whether you're going AP or AD, just because of how much harassment you can throw out during the laning phase. And you'll note that he's also running the Kleptomancy as well to try and increase that gold generation. And Kennen is all about harassment in the laning phase. It's very easy for him to run up to you with that electrical surge. He can apply the empowered auto attack from his W, and you can see how he just throws this poke out. And it means that he can easily proc the Kleptomancy and just increase that gold generation.
Have to keep our eyes on exactly how much gold Odoamne has in that top lane. And it's a matchup of veterans there. Odoamne into Cabochard. Cabochard, of course, one of the players that has, well, the only player that's been on Vitality since they joined the league.
Yep.
So long ago.
Back in 2016, I believe it was.
Often forgotten, Cabochard. He's one of those top laners that does his duty incredibly well, but never really shines.
Yes. He's also one of the people that, he's the only reason why I have Gragas in my top lane tier list because he played it so much last year, and they often flexed it between jungle and top, and it was definitely a staple champion for him. And he is just that, he's staple, right? And I know Yamato gives him a lot of praise, but now we see Jactroll face checking Memento.
Face checks straight into the back of an axe. Splash in from IgNar, that's one. Attila flashes the wall! I thought IgNar had done it for a second. Didn't quite land the hook.
So here's the early aggression that we were talking about. We wanted to see it from Memento. We wanted to see it from IgNar. IgNar flashes in, stops Jactroll for having that opportunity to flash away. And unfortunately for Jactroll, he just wasn't expecting an angry Viking to be waiting for him, as we now see Odo chasing Cabo down.
Pesky Pikachu just on the chase here against Kingler, the crab Pokemon, I believe.
Yes, good shout.
Thanks.
Electric types are super effective against water types. And he is building up a pretty healthy CS advantage up top. Will force Cabochard to go back to base. He can still TP back in, but the fact that Odo will have this TP advantage, definitely favorable for Schalke. Now, IgNar and Memento grouping up, getting a bit of deep vision, stealing away camps. Love this aggression from Schalke. Very similar to kind of what we expected. You know, this is how they used to play, and they're just sticking to their style, it seems.
Not how Schalke used to play, though. Of
Oh,
course,
no.
a little bit more passive in the past, but it's Schalke who are on the front foot at the moment. We talked about how you can use pressure across the map. Well, that's exactly what Schalke are doing for themselves. The 1,000 gold lead. Abbedagge fighting up against Jiizuké. The Ring of Frost will stop him in his tracks.
So, for the time being, Mowgli has been quite quiet.
Oh,
in the
here
jungle.
we go again.
Ooh, Jactroll still has his flash, remember?
Memento has his flash, though, if he wants to go for it. Not going to go any further.
Now Mowgli top side. Odoamne still in a fairly safe position, has flash and the E as well.
Both top lanes have burnt their teleports to get back into the lane, though, so if Mowgli can get this gank off, they do get a good time.
Oh, that's huge, that's huge, that's
Yeah,
it.
Odoamne's used his electrical rush now. Mowgli comes in, good flash away from Odo, dodging out from the tusks of the boar.
Yeah, with the electrical surge gone from Odoamne, it meant that he was forced to burn his flash to get out of that situation. Now Vitality have pressure towards the top side of the map, but they also know where the jungler is. Let's see if Schalke can push anything else anywhere. Unfortunately, it looks like they can't, but impressively, Jiizuké actually holding his own in the mid lane, even against a difficult matchup. He is actually doing very well in terms of farm. Kind of going to show that this guy can still keep up with the young bloods joining the LEC.
Yeah. I have to see as the game does progress. I do want to look back down towards the bottom lane, though, because of the early ganks, Upset has actually been able to develop about a 15 to 20 CS lead here, running Kleptomancy on the Ezreal as well, so he'll be getting quite a lot of gold in his back pocket. As you can see, 500 gold, the difference between the two AD carries already. That accounts for some of that gold lead that Schalke have got, and we talked about how Attila into Upset is this perennial matchup for the bottom lane, and how both these players last year really stepped into their own.
And you can see how, what I find funny is you look at the CSD and Upset was often behind, but that was because he usually played these scaling AD carries, not about lane dominance, much more about the mid to late game team fighting. When you look at his damage per minute, that's where he really excelled, because the team fighting is what he was so good at, with a very high KDA as well. And you kind of look at Attila, he was just kind of solid across the board. You know, he was very reliable, he was good in lane, he was often dealing good damage in the fights as well. And that's kind of why, that's when we said earlier, Upset kind of has those higher highs, which many people remember, whereas Attila is just that staple, that AD carry that you rely on, who can perform, and has a huge versatile range that he can offer his team.
So a couple of interesting things I want to look at itemization-wise here, Vedius. Sheen first on Upset, going for a bit more poke in the lane. But Moby Boots, before even the upgraded coin here from IgNar, he really just wants to move around as much as possible.
Yep. I think he's fine just leaving Upset in a 2 versus 1. Ezreal's pretty safe. He's even going aggressive up against Attila. And I think that Ignar's saying, you know what, I feel fine. I want to work with my jungler more to snowball an early game advantage, because that's kind of what we're going to look to do with this composition. And with the Sheen, I am surprised that there's no tier. Perhaps he's going to rush a Trinity Force instead for a better mid-game spike. We'll have to see as his build continues.
There's a lot of different options for the Ezreal at the moment. Last Breath comes out. That's a Glacial Prism as well, and Abbedagge just gets taken out. Great synergy from Jiizuké and Mowgli.
Very clean gank there from Jiizuké. He procced the knock-up with his Q. Odoamne doesn't
No
have
flash on either of them, but just needs the Shuriken!
Oh, beautifully done there from Odoamne, finding a solo kill onto Cabochard. He has maxed Q, implying that he will be going towards this AP build. It looks like that he's working towards that proto belt as well. But that's fantastic stuff from Odoamne. Schalke finding a kill back after losing their mid laner.
Good stuff. And like we talked earlier in the last game about how Odoamne actually really struggled at the start of Spring Split last year. Now he seems to have come out swinging on this Kennen, something we don't really see in the current meta, but Schalke are making it work for them in the first 10 minutes of this game.
Clearly an answer to the Urgot. I wonder if it's just got a slightly longer attack range, which means that you can just kind of dance around the Urgot. There's no real way for him to close it, and you can just constantly poke him and harass him. And it helps when Odoamne is able to successfully land so many good Qs. It's a lot of damage, and you can see the all-in from Cabo. I wonder, so Odoamne stayed just out of range before the ulti could proc from Cabo, and then he could go for the re-engage. He lands the Q. There's no way that Cabo can get out of that situation, so he ends up giving away his life.
I see once again this gank in the mid lane as well. Jiizuké just goes in right at the right time. Abbedagge a little bit overextended. Doesn't have time to flash away. CC'd for way too long.
Thing is, he has his ultimate and flash, so he thinks he's safe. But just as the knockup comes out, there's Mowgli. So the follow-up CC and combined with the duo's damage means that a very quick kill comes over in favor of Vitality.
And it's good to see Mowgli on the board so early in his first LEC game as well, because our question was whether Vitality had shored up the turbulence they had in the jungle role with Gilius originally, then with Kikis doing such a good job, and now bringing in Mowgli, trying to add just a little bit more veterancy perhaps to the team.
He did play with the Afrika Freaks for roughly 2 years. He did make it to the World Championship last year as well.
Okay, so our spectators client there shows him out of the bush. He is still in the bush. Cabochard does not realize Memento's there until he puts the ward down. Odoamne unable to lightning rush into position.
So, we've talked a lot about the various lanes, and I've been slowly thinking about why they would actually go for the Viktor here, right? I hear a lot of yelling on stage.
I think they're going to fight in just a second. Jiizuké caught out, pops the climb straight away. Mowgli there, jumps onto IgNar, last breath. That's one down, but Memento is now in time. Here comes the Tahm Kench. Memento takes one. Attila and Jactroll join the fight. Mowgli can't get the stun up in time. Memento still unstoppable from the Ragnarok. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade.
So, we could hear on the stage how vocal Schalke were. They really wanted to get involved in that fight. They wanted to kick things off, but fantastic outplay there from Jiizuké. The immediate cleanse into the knockup, then ulti, meant that they just obliterated IgNar before he could even get his ultimate off. The follow-up damage then from Memento was more than enough to chase down the flashless Jiizuké, meaning that it ended up being a 1-for-1 overall. But you can see that both these teams hungry for early game action. A lot more kills than we've seen so far today.
And it was Memento who was so vocal as well. He was the guy saying, guys, we go forward, we take the fight. Go on the aggressive, and it's great to see from Schalke already having that trust as part of the team to be able to take those fights.
So now we kind of reset, TP's coming through, can go back to my Viktor point.
I hate the reset points. I want more action.
I mean, that's
more
fine,
fights.
But I'm trying to understand why they decided to go for Viktor, because typically when we saw the, oh, never mind, we got to do the
yeah, more action, Vedius.
More action. So, Schalke was setting up for the play. You can see that Memento in the river on the top side, IgNar on the bot side, but that very quick cleanse into the knockup, Vitality's decision-making there was go on to Thresh, will kill him, and then we can turn for the rest because we have a Tahm Kench joining us, but he couldn't quite join in time. And Schalke steal away a red buff in the meanwhile. So utilizing this early game strength that they have even further, they do sit with the kill lead, the gold lead, and they're keeping the momentum up. But I need to get back to this Viktor point. It's important because it comes back to scaling. Now the thing about Viktor is in the late game, assuming that he's going for the blue build kind of Viktor
Iceborne Gauntlet,
yeah,
sort of
right,
off-tank build.
Right now he's not. He has maxed E. He does have the fully upgraded Hex Core, but we'll see how that transitions later on into the game. It may be just that they wanted more AP damage because they're full AD, right? But I think it does offer a lot in terms of scaling, and it suggests that they're going much more towards the team fight angle. By running the Yasuo in the mid lane, which so far Jiizuké has done a fantastic job of executing, I think that they will be looking to group and looking to fight as the game progresses.
Mowgli whiffs. He's not used to that EU ping just quite yet.
Quite able to land it onto Odoamne, wasn't forced to flash even though he did have it available. Now Memento hanging around the top side, pop the Predator.
Just chasing off Mowgli for the time being. In case they went for the tower dive, he could have done something, but nothing really needed as of yet. IgNar finally got the upgrade on his Nomad's medallion, so can start placing some wards in just a minute when he backs and refills that. It's taken him a little bit more time, which you expect, considering he went for the early mobility boots. But across the board, this game's incredibly even. 13 minutes in, 300 gold the difference between the two teams. Neither team really chucked away any of those turret plating as either. So what are the next steps, Vedius? Where are these teams going to go next, or are we just going to see an extended laning phase?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to figure out why the gold was so close, and it's because Jactroll has more gold. So actually, like, across the board, like, that gold is surprisingly deceptive because the fact that
You're saying supports don't matter as much, Vedius?
I'm saying that the fact that Jactroll has a gold lead means
alienating
less.
a fifth of the League of Legends player base.
It means less than having Odoamne on a 900 gold lead, right?
That is true. That is true.
So that's kind of why the gold looks so close. But in terms of like what happens next, Schalke need to keep the pressure up. I'd like to see them invest a couple more ganks towards the mid lane. The problem for them is that Jiizuké right now has his cleanse back up, but if they can burn it, I think a lot of plays are able to happen. Jactroll actually coming down towards the bot side of the map.
IgNar flashes away from the Chaos Storm, would have been slowed up in that by the Tongue Lash as well. So that's the power of the Abyssal Voyage, of course. Jactroll using the Unsealed Spellbook now has the Exhaust and the Ignite in his back pocket in case they need to use it, and Schalke saying, okay, you guys are playing down to the bottom side of the map, we'll play up towards the top. There's a Rift Herald up here if we want it. Neither team really too concerned by the Cloud Drake on the bottom side for the moment.
Cabochard being forced to back away from the tower. They can dive this.
Yeah, you've got Slicing Maelstrom as well. Odoamne just lands the stun. Memento here for the follow-up. It's an easy enough kill.
I don't know why he stayed around for so long. He was incredibly low. And Odoamne, he could have dived that by himself, so that means an easy kill. Schalke now primed to take this tower, and Schalke starting to snowball out of control.
Yeah, turret placement falling off as well at the 15-minute. Teleport coming in behind here. Looks
Double
like that's going to be Jactroll and Attila joining the fight. Here they come. Double teleport from the bot lane. Memento not in the best of shapes, but almost has his flashback up, pops the Ragnarok and just runs straight away. Good stuff from Schalke, keep themselves alive, then burns the summoners on the side of Vitality.
So Vitality keep their tower alive, and now they're going to go for the trade because they recognize that keeping things the way they were wouldn't net them any benefit. But if they can secure this first tower with 3 Ummers up towards the top side, at the very least, it's something that they get back.
Got the Demolish and the Essence Flux down towards that bottom side, though, so it's going to be incredibly close. I think Schalke might actually have this one. They do. They get the first tower, as you say, still close, only about 300 gold between the two teams, but that's good stuff for Schalke to be able to answer, get those teleports out, and still get the first tower.
Yeah, because that tower is guaranteed to go down, right? So if you just left it the way it was, then bot lane would have stayed neutral, and Urgot would have been in a lane where he couldn't get a tan. Now, instead, he can move towards bot, he can catch this wave that's bouncing towards him, and Vitality get a bit of global gold back because they're able to secure a tower. So while they don't get a kill, overall, it's still the best option available to Vitality.
And they get the Rift Herald off the back of it. They'll trade it for a Cloud Drake, which, as I said a moment ago, isn't too impactful in this game. Will help IgNar position for the hooks, will help Memento try and get on the back line a little bit quicker, but not too monumental at all. Good stuff all round, though, from both of these teams. Very even game.
Yep.
And it's been an even game that hasn't been slow. There have been a lot of attempted ganks, a lot of good kills from both the teams. Odoamne doing an incredible job on that. Kennen sitting on about a 450 gold bounty at the moment as well because of that. Now we'll see him go down towards the bottom lane. But I expect Schalke to look more towards team fights, to look more towards these group fights because it's not the AD Kennen, it's the AP Kennen that they've gone for.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see team fighting. But the big thing is that Vitality scales much better, I think, than Schalke, just because they have the Yasuo. So like 3-4 items in a side lane, I don't think anyone's going to be able to deal with the Yasuo, which is something that Schalke have to respect. And I think so far they played this early game pretty well, but now they need to keep the pressure up. They need to be utilizing this strong Olaf. The fact that Kennen is almost about to hit that 2-item spike means that they can force fights much earlier into the game, try and get to that Yasuo before he completes those items, before the Viktor gets to a point where he's this scary mage.
I'm wondering about Jiizuké's build here, because usually we see Phantom Dancer into Infinity Edge on the Yasuo, and here he's gone for the Jarum's Fish, so could we go Sterex? Could just get Jarum's and then go Infinity Edge?
I think they're expecting team fights, so he just wants that extra bit of survivability, and then he'll go for the Infinity Edge third is kind of what I'm expecting. Vitality will set up the push into the middle lane. Mowgli in a bit of danger right now.
Odoamne is in a good flank position, but doesn't have the flash. Memento now running forward as well. There's a good event horizon. Great hook onto Mowgli, pulls him back. Look at the damage coming out from Abbedagge. He's jumped at the backline. Slicing Maelstrom comes out as well from Odoamne. Mowgli running up towards the top side. He's still alive, and that's one down. The last breath from Jiizuké, but now he's in the middle of Schalke. Upset jumps forward. Cabochard just about escapes, but another hook from IgNar once again, finding his mark. It's a double kill for Odo, and Schalke come out on top.
A very close team fight between Schalke and Vitality, but Schalke just barely come out on top. They will lose a tower off the back end, so still very close across the board, and it just reinforces that both these teams are out for blood. They look to keep this rivalry alive.
I love the fact that we have a big team fight and the gold is still within 500 after it. Let's have another look at this.
So the setup is majorly in favor of Schalke. Remember, at this point in the game, they feel much stronger. Vitality don't have those core items to really fight just yet. So if Schalke can find that fight, then that's what they're looking for. Now, the problem for Odo is he doesn't have Flash or his E, so it takes him a long time to get his ultimate into the middle of many. If he was in that choke point, this could have swung much faster in favor of Schalke, but they couldn't close that gap. They couldn't land that CC, which means Jiizuké even finds himself a kill. And then, unfortunately for Jactroll, he didn't have Flash, which meant that he decided to use his ultimate to try and escape. He ends up getting hooked. And then Jiizuké gets baited in a little bit because he sees how much damage drops onto Abbedagge, and then he overextends and he loses his life. So very, very close fight. Could have swung either way, but you could see how close Schalke was to truly just demolishing Vitality. If that Kennen ult just got a little closer.
Jiizuké maybe overextended here, uses the cleanse straight away. Memento on the chase, teleport coming in, counter TP as well. The last breath, double TP. Everyone's going to be up in the top lane for a fight in just a second. Jiizuké's already down. A 5v4 now in favor of Schalke. Cabochard runs away. Good glacial prism from Mowgli. Locks up Odoamne. The hook onto Cabochard, but Vitality are pushing forward. Beyond death eats down Cabochard. That's a massive bounty over towards the Urgot. Now Schalke running back towards their base. Should be able to get away. No real catch-up tools on the side of Vitality.
Need to stop chasing there, Vitality. It ends up being a 1-for-1. This is the action that you were looking for, Medic. Both teams going at it, and all starts off with just Schalke trying to punish Jiizuké in the top side of the map, but the teleports come through quick. The reaction from both sides is immediate, and it ends up once again being an even trade.
Big bounty going over to Cabochard though, about 700 gold, I think. They started up.
Okay.
It was a Vitality play. It was a guys.
Can we do this?
See that? Yeah, we could sneak that for now. Maybe they won't see. And then, you know, the policeman walks along and is like, "Hey, excuse me, what are you doing over here?" I'm like, okay, we can't sneak it for now.
Fine.
That may have just been a little story that played in my own head that didn't really translate.
I really felt what you were trying to say.
You feel the policeman.
Yeah, that's what I felt. So, this is where things started. Jiizuké's like, I'm going to clear this control ward. And then he's like, never mind. All of Schalke are coming. But then Vitality go, you know what? We can take this fight. It doesn't matter if Schalke are running up through the river and there are 5 people. I'm confident we can win. And all comes off the back of a good engage, or re-engage rather, from Mowgli. And then the follow-up damage from Attila, along with the fear beyond death from Cabo, could have swung this fight much harder, but then you're seeing the power of this blue build Ezreal just applying slow after slow after slow, keeping Vitality at arm's length, preventing them from finding any further damage or kills.
Still felt like Odo perhaps was using his ultimate just a little bit early. Doesn't have the Zhonya's yet, so doesn't want to dive all the way into the back of the enemy team. Still doesn't have a stopwatch either, so maybe just being a little bit too cautious with how he uses that. Could have flashed onto the backline, could have got a 4-man slicing Maelstrom instead. Just thought he'd try and catch Cabo, couldn't quite do it. IgNar has been on point with hooks thus far. Abbedagge going to jump forward as well. He's got the lantern if he needs to get away. Odoamne doesn't even land the Maelstrom onto anyone because Jactroll gobbles up Attila to keep him alive for the moment. Cabochard now coming in from the side as well, and Odo not in a good spot at all. Cabochard secures him for the 2nd time this game.
Props to Jactroll there, using that consume on Attila at the last second to prevent Odoamne from landing that CC. Jiizuké now has his eyes on upset.
Upset flashes away there. Oh, it was Arcane Shifts? It was an Arcane Shift. It wasn't a flash.
Arcane Shift, yeah. We'll be able to get out of that one, but Vitality find themselves a kill. And it was because Odoamne didn't have his flash. He dived onto the backline with his ultimate, which meant that his E was unavailable. And now Vitality threatening the Baron. Classic Vitality, forcing the enemy into an uncomfortable situation, saying, come check, we might be doing this. You don't know. And then what do? They go ahead and start it.
Abbedagge still has the ultimate. Upset waiting on that true shot barrage. That'll be up soon though. IgNar has the box, but no flashes at all on Schalke. Odoamne just respawned. He hasn't got the teleport though, so he's going to be a while before he gets to the fight. There's the true shot barrage. Mowgli down to about a 3rd HP. Baron stopped. Abbedagge not going to go in for the moment.
See, but it's plays like this that really confuse me about Vitality, because they're like, hey, we might be able to steal Baron here. The probability is extremely low, but they also just concede all pressure on the map. Because now trying to make that play, Schalke just secure themselves a mid-tier 1 when they didn't need to. Oh, in fact, that's 2 towers that Schalke's likely going to grab. And that's just because Vitality, after finding a kill, didn't go back to base, didn't reset, didn't restock their wards, and instead were delayed a base. Schalke were already back out on the map, and they got themselves a bunch of objectives. So these kind of decisions is like classic Vitality.
Yep.
That is it's just a high risk, high reward play.
They're just reading a different manual to everyone else.
Yeah, they certainly are. So this is where the engage starts. You can see here's the consume from Jactroll just at the last second to avoid the CC from coming through onto Attila, and then Odoamne, he has nothing left to get out of this situation. So the rest of Vitality collapse, and they find themselves a kill.
Yeah, the chase onto Upset as well as he had to jump away, but Vitality didn't gain a huge amount out of it. Only about 800 gold between these two teams. Still very much looking towards Jiizuké and Attila to be the key carries for Vitality. And then at Upset and Abbedagge, who's had some very good engages on this Lissandra so far this game. Have to give him credit. His Ring of Frosts caught out quite a few people. IgNar saving him a few times as well. But Odoamne once again out of position, just pushed too far up. The Abyssal Voyage catches him off. He's going to try and run away with the Lightning Rush. Slowed down. Needs to get on the other side of the blast cone, but can't get far enough. He is gobbled up once again by Cabochard.
And that's another kill going in favor of Vitality. This very strong Kennen that has 3 items is being picked off consistently. He doesn't have teleport. That's a 35-second death timer. And what do you think Vitality will do, Medic?
I think they'll bait the Baron and then run away from it as soon as they see Schalke.
They may very well do that. There are 2 teleports available for Abbedagge and Upset, and threatening the Baron now makes sense, because you might be able to get a summoner spell off the back of it. And so you can see them just clearing out the vision and threatening this objective. Nope, they're going to start it. What a shocker.
And Mowgli pops the blast cone across the wall though, so makes sure that Memento has to flash over if he's going in. Upset on his way, Abbedagge coming up from the top lane as well.
It's slow.
Baron down to 8,000, very slow. Odoamne about to be up, still no teleport on him though. That's still a few seconds away from coming up. And Vitality, I told you, Vedius, I told you. They'll bait the Baron and then they'll run away as soon as they see Schalke.
You need to lend me your Vitality manual, because like...
Let me just rip up some pages for you. Oh, he's too good!
Upset steals
All
it.
pro AD carry.
He will get himself a tower as well. Nice pickup there for Upset. I did say that this was a champion that this guy loves. Yeah. His ultis are also often on point. So I just really want to clarify that these Barons from Vitalities are not typically how one would set up a Baron play. But we can get onto that in a little bit later. Odoamne, he tries to clear out of wards, gets collapsed on by the ultimate from Jactroll and the 3-man unit from Vitality, and this was just a mistake. Odoamne should have looked at the minimap. He sees that the rest of his team aren't there. You can't clear those wards by yourself. That's why you should always have a buddy. And he ends up giving away a kill.
So 26 minutes in, we just had the 3rd dragon of the game for Schalke. They're taking a Cloud, Ocean, and a Mountain Dragon. You've got 2.5 items completed on Upset. He's going the double-tier Ezreal build with the Seraph 2nd. Got Ludens and the upgraded Hex Core for Attila. Looks like he's going towards a Sheen, maybe a Lichbane as his 3rd item as well.
Yeah.
And the Infinity Edge on its way for Jiizuké. So we are starting to hit those big spikes. Still no stopwatch on Odoamne. Still no Zhonya's. He went Void Staff next instead. And now Memento, caught out a little bit, will take the Dark Passage away.
Vitality just maintaining control around Baron, while Cabochard with his teleport sits in the bottom lane, clears things out, will likely grab himself a tower as well. These added towers at this point in the game don't really mean a huge amount though. They're just kind of like a bit of extra gold that you can pick up, but nothing too significant. While the Baron dance continues, Vitality clearly have a goal in mind. Take Baron at all costs.
Is that a risk though?
Yes.
So what would, say you were in Vitality's comms right now, or say Yamato was, and you're like, guys, this Vitality Baron bait strat, it's not working out too well for us at the moment.
Right.
How would you change things? What would you do?
Well, I would say, hey, Yasuo.
Vedius here.
Hey guys, it's Vedius. How's it going?
And welcome to another episode of Picks to Watch.
Let's look at that Yasuo. He kind of outscales like everything, so let's get an Infinity Edge and let's move him off to a side lane. Now, the risk is obviously he doesn't have teleports. You kind of want to put him in the top side It's where he's closest to Baron and can get involved with the rest of his team. Which means that the next steps for Vitality should be push mid, move into enemy jungle, get wards, right? Then, with the wards that you have, allow Jiizuké to push up top, and he knows he's safe because he has vision of the enemy jungle, right? That requires you investing a lot of resources in towards the top side of the map. You can see...
Oh, Jiizuké lands the knockup from the Steel Tempest. Abbedagge goes into the Frozen Tomb, but all of Vitality are here in time. Abbedagge almost gets away, but can't quite pops the stopwatch. Schalke unable to answer. They will sacrifice their top laner, their mid laner, sorry, to push out mid.
So watch now, Schalke tried to punish by running down mid, and Vitality's immediate response was Baron? Baron, let's go to Baron. And immediately Schalke recognized this, so they send 3 members to the Baron pit. And you can see both teams very aware of what the other one wants to do, but Upset's the one that's coming out on top.
Still not ultimate on Jiizuké and Mowgli, but Cabochard is running forward. Great Dark Passage to get him out. Upset here as well. Needs to jump across the wall or just somewhere to keep himself a little bit safer in this situation, because he could get chased down. Still trying to poke out, dodging away as much as he can. Almost jumps into the Steel Tempest, but doesn't quite. And once again, we hit parity. Homeostasis on the Rift.
But it's Vitality that came out at a loss in that situation, because now it's even harder for them to get mid-pressure because they've just lost their tier 2. And on top of that, like, they invested so much into just getting this single kill into Abbedagge. You can see how much he can stall for. This is why Lissandra is so popular right now, because of how much he can sustain and buy time. And just look at the minimap. Schalke were sending 4 members up. They then had enough time to go back to mid lane, push the mid lane, and then get the tower in the amount of time that it took Vitality to find that kill. And they had to expend 3 teleports, a flash, 2 flashes, all for a single kill, and they ended up getting less gold.
Hey, Betty, guess what Vitality are doing?
They're going for Baron.
This is all they learned in their boot camp. When in doubt, Baron. Odoamne has teleport to join the fight. Abbedagge up towards the top side as well. Upset's just going to try and poke across from the wall. There's a true shot barrage. Chunks out Attila. Now Memento can run forward, has the GA to keep himself
It's the same every
alive
time.
in the fight. It's the same every time, apart from the fact that sometimes more Mystic shots hit than others.
But the funniest thing about this, right, is I could understand Vitality threatening the Baron if they were trying to get teleports out from Schalke. But they've tried the same trick now, what, 4 times? And Schalke's like, if we just walk towards them...
Schalke are doing it now. It's like, guys,
and look,
guys, they keep doing this. It must be good.
Base, he doesn't have teleport. Cabo doesn't have teleport. Mowgli is nowhere near... This is a free Baron.
IgNar puts down the box. Cabochard trying to get in there. Jactroll there as well. But Odoamne forces them away. Memento gets the smite. Schalke get the Baron. After Vitality have been knocking on the door for the last hour and a half. Memento will go down into the GA. They jump into the backline though. IgNar pulls Upset all the way in. Jiizuké down. Now Upset can just open up hell. Mystic shot after Mystic shot lands. And Schalke come out absolutely dominating in the team fight.
And this was such a big team fight win that Upset's just going to TP into the middle lane.
Oh.
Attila walks away with a kill, but Schalke primed and ready to end this game.
They're looking to close it out off the one Baron. They say, Vitality, anything you can do, we can actually do. Secure the Baron, win the team fight, now pushing down mid. And
I think this is
great stuff. I think his game as well. I think Vitality fell at the Baron hurdle and Schalke bit off everything they could chew. What a great fight from them. They will take the win and they will stamp their mark on the LEC.
I was very surprised by the amount of times the Vitality went to Baron. And the funniest thing about it is every time they went, they got punished in some way, right? And the 4th time, it's like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on... Oh no, fool me once, shame on you.
Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, shame on the entire team, and probably Yamato Cannon as well.
And basically, Schalke were like, we're not going to let you do this again. You've just reset, you're all low, you don't have teleports, we're just going to start the Baron because you can't contest us. And it was just... that Schalke just waited for Vitality to lose the game. It's very much what it felt like. And while I love watching Vitality be proactive, I love seeing them be this aggro style, and mechanically they're still the same as they always have been. This team is filled with very talented players. It just feels like that they tried to force too much, and the decision-making around this Baron is ultimately what led to their downfall.
We have to give credit to Schalke, though. Coming in here with an entirely new roster, apart from Upset, probably few people expecting them to actually take a win off the World's contenders last year. They come in, they do exactly what they needed to do on the day, and they're able to take the victory.
Yeah, good stuff. I loved seeing Memento and IgNar play those aggressive champions. Very much about roaming, finding these early game plays, and kind of building that early game advantage. Upset still showing his proficiency on the Ezreal as well, and demonstrating that he is still a top 80 carry here in Europe. And Abbedagge, he unfortunately didn't have lots of opportunities to shine, but a lot of focus was put onto him as well.
And I think the thing about Abbedagge was he coped with the pressure.
Yeah.
He didn't show up, he didn't make big plays, but he was able to absorb that pressure, let the rest of his team get ahead, and that was exactly what the team needed. We're going to actually have a look at that final fight around the Baron once again, because that was where Schalke were able to take the victory.
And immediately draw your attention to the minimap. Look at the position of Vitality. They are too far away from it. Cabochard swaps to Smite to try and steal it away, but it's not enough. And Vitality just, they're in two minds about what to do. The Sejuani ultimate goes wide. Attila can't get any damage out because he's forced to retreat. And Upset is just, excuse me, Upset is landing Q after Q after Q. Really good decision making there from Schalke. Excellent punishment against Vitality. And yeah, overall good stuff from the Schalke squad, netting their first win in the LEC Split.
And Upset showing why so much trust was put in him by this Schalke team. Once again, the second time in 2 years, they've rebuilt the entire roster around just Upset. Now, if you guys saw a standout performance, be sure to vote for Kia Player of the Game at LOL Esports on Twitter. We've narrowed it down to Upset, Odoamne, and Jiizuké. All three of whom actually had pretty good games.
I mean, again, I would, honorable mention would be Memento for me. I felt like
IgNar, actually, his hooks 1 point.
Yeah, they were pretty good, but I just feel like Memento's early game impact is a large part of where Schalke got to that point from. And I think it's important to look at this game holistically, because I think that what we saw was good early game stuff from Schalke, but a couple of mid-game issues where we had people getting caught out, we had them not really coordinating their team fights very cleanly, but they were very good at punishing the mistakes from Vitality.
Sure.
So what I think Schalke have demonstrated is that they're definitely a new style of team, but there's definitely a lot more to work with now, and they just need to refine it, and they can be a very strong contender here in Europe.
Where would you place them? If, say, they refine the issues that you saw today, are we looking at a,
right now, it's
a
too
top
early,
of the table?
man. It's way
no, I
too
think we should
early.
make
No.
wide sweeping statements right now. Vitality at bottom, Schalke are top now, right? That's how it works? Well, after the break, we'll get to see the new lineup of Misfits Gaming, who I believe Frosk put them 8th in her power ranking. They're going to face off against Rogue, so don't go anywhere. Face checks straight into the back of an axe. Splash in from IgNar. That's one. Attila flashes the wall! I thought IgNar had done it for a second. There's a lot of different options for the Ezreal at the moment. Last breath comes out. There's a Glacial Prism as well, and Abbedagge just gets taken out. Hey, Mowgli running up towards the top side. He's still alive, and that's one down. The last breath from Jiizuké, but now he's in the middle of Schalke. Upset jumps forward. Cabochard just about escapes, but another hook from IgNar once again, finding his mark. It's a double kill for Odo. Memento will go down into the chair. They jump into the backline, though. IgNar pulls Upset all the way in. Jiizuké down. Now Upset can just open up hell. Mystic shot after Mystic shot lands. Schalke bit off everything they could chew. What a great fight from them. They will take the win and they will stamp their mark on the LEC.